Join the team.
Hey, theMCGuiRE review, and we're going to take a look at Euthia Torment of Resurrection. Now, this is a game from Dia Games that was kickstarted and has already been delivered, and they're getting ready to do another print run of this game. There's going to be some upgrades, there's going to be some expansion stuff. It's going to be really cool. However, what I want to do here is a little bit of a different kind of video, and the reason is because there already are so many videos on this game. If you want to look into this game, on the unboxing, the numerous amount of components, you can see this mound here. We are going to look at that just very, very quickly so it's clear what this game is, as well as setup videos, as well as playthrough videos. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I will link in the description below a couple really good setup and play videos that I've found on this game. And you can take a look at those videos if you're interested specifically in setup and gameplay. I have no affiliation with these people. I don't even know them on a personal level. But they are two videos that I watched that I got a lot of value of and I thought was pretty cool. What I want to do, and hopefully you're still hanging here with us, is give you the information that you need to make the most important decision when it comes to this game and the reprint of this game and the Kickstarter that's going to be happening with this game very soon. And that is the decision of, do you click that pledge button or not? So I want to run through kind of my logic and how I make these decisions. And maybe that works for you, maybe it doesn't. But I feel like I want to be able to make some content that allows you to really actually make the decision that you need to make. And sometimes even these setup and playthrough and unboxing and discussion videos don't really always help you make that decision. It really comes down to how you kind of think through the process and what's right for you. So quickly, what is this game? At a high level, this is going to be another one of those larger, sprawling, campaign-based RPG-style type board games where you're going to have a character, you're going to start out at like level 1, you're going to level up that character over the course of play, you're going to traverse a wide kind of landscape and gaining items, fighting monsters. You'll see there's a number of different miniatures. Now again, in this Kickstarter version of the game, some of these miniatures you could pay extra to get. Some of them did just come with the base pledge. They do have a really awesome, wash on them. They look really good. They're really high quality miniatures. I was impressed with that. As well as these are actually painted in a different wash for the elementals. There's a number of storage things. I will say quickly, if you are thinking about getting this game and backing it, I'm not exactly sure what the new Kickstarter is going to look like for all the options. But I highly suggest, again, if we make the decision as going through the logic that this is for you, you're going to want these storage things, the nicer bags, the storage for the chits, the awesome cardboard holders here that hold all of the cards. They're like little thick cardboard cards. It's a chit, but you'll use these to play the game as well. I highly recommend doing the extra add-on for those updates for this particular game because there is a mountain of chits and components that you're going to be dealing with when you play. Okay? So that's just something that I would definitely recommend. I think another way to explain this is to look at some other games that have been published and released over the years that you may know and you may not know, and we're not really going to go into any of these games, but they're ways to kind of stack up in your mind what this game actually is. So this game is kind of like this game. I'm not saying it is like it's kind of like this game. It's got components of this game. It's kind of like this game, okay? And a lot of review channels are just directly comparing this game to this game because there are things that are very similar as far as component style and some of the mechanics. So there's some things that are like this game. There's some things that are like this game. This is actually one of my favorite games of all time. One of the games that really got me back. I love this game. And it's kind of like this game, okay? And you might think, well, did I have to go get all these games to sort of make my point here? And the answer to that is no. I already had and have bought and paid for all of these games. These are favorite games of mine. So I love these games. But that's kind of what this game really is. If you took the best components of all of these games and then you designed one singular experience and platform, it would be similar to kind of taking all four of these games and mashing them together and making a board game, okay? So that's what Euthia is at a high level, all right? So that's the first piece that we're going to probably be thinking through as we want to make our decision if we want to click that pledge button or if this is for you, right? If everything I just showed you is like, no, like I don't like any of those games and I don't like these like adventure, sprawling, campaign, fantasy-based board games, then you just fell out of the case statement, right? Like just go ahead and move on because this is not going to be a game for you. What you don't want to do is get sucked into today's FOMO where it's like you just got to buy every big platform game that's out there on Kickstarter because if you don't, somehow you're missing out. You know what you like. Just make the decision, right? You know what you like. If this is what you like, you're in that case statement so far. You're locked into that logic of that next step. And that next step, after you know what this is that, is it actually different than probably the mound of other games that you already have that are like this? Because if you're a person who likes these larger RPG, level up, fantasy sprawling type board games, you're probably already going to have on shelves and closets somewhere 2, 3, 4, who knows, other platforms that are boxes that are this big that you may have played or may not have even touched yet. And that's the next decision you're going to have to make, because if it is just another release of another one of those types of games, you probably want to pass. Also in today's industry, with 6 or so thousand, maybe even more at this point, new board games that roll out every single year across hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of publishers at this point, because this industry is just kind of exponentially growing, there is a ton of the same thing. Oh, there's just going to be statistically, right? The same thing over and over and over and over again, just with different art, different miniatures, different skin, but it's pretty much the same experience, okay? Might be some different rules, might be some different mechanics, but for me, board gaming really comes down to the experience that you gain around the table when you're playing, either by yourself or with others. And this is going to offer an experience that if you're going to invest your money, needs to be different enough than the other games that are like this, the big RPG fantasy board games. And I think from my experience with this game, and this is where you're going to have to take a little bit, you're going to have to believe or trust a little bit from my perspective what I'm saying, and I'll qualify that with decades of board game experience and hundreds and hundreds of titles that I've played and looked through and reviewed. I think it probably offers enough difference from some of these other larger games that are like this, because it's something that tries to attack what really hasn't. It's almost like if you like everything that I got out on the table before, you're probably also a person that is like, why hasn't someone just made a Diablo series board game? Why hasn't someone... there's been World of Warcraft board games that have been made. There's actually 2 different types. I've got the smaller adventure game that we looked at a minute ago, and I've also got the larger box World of Warcraft adventure game as well, okay? And you may have thought over time, like, why hasn't someone made like a Diablo series board game? And I think if I was to look at Euthia, I would say, this is what I've been wanting, right? Like, this is the game that I've been looking for. It just doesn't carry that IP, but it has that approach and that game style. It makes me feel like I'm starting with this level 1 character and I'm grinding through this sprawling, we'll say, open world, because the map does build out very fast, especially if you're playing with multiple players, and it gives you a lot of options to go all over the place. It's got the griffin that you can take from waypoint to waypoint. It's got the portals that you can jump in that are very Diablo-esque that go from point to point. It's got the character models and the character types that are somewhat similar. It's got the big bad bosses that you're going to battle. It's got the mini bosses. It's got the grinding for equipment. It's got the gems that you're going to find, that you're going to socket the different items and all the different types of items you can find, whether it's armor or potions or whatever. It's got different abilities that you can skill up in and develop and kind of take your character in a number of different directions. You can play this game over and over and over and skill your character in different directions, which gives you more replayability and more quote-unquote tree builds. It has everything that you would want from that perspective, and I don't think I have any other game that sort of hits on those particular styles of gameplay so directly and so intentionally. I have games that we looked at some of them. You also think about Tainted Grail, right? You lay it out, you kind of got that fog of war, you explore areas, but it's more heavy on the narrative and the story and the campaign side, where this really focuses in on that RPG hack and slash kind of type of gameplay, and it does it really well, and it does it on a grand scale where you can sit down and play these scenarios. This is the rule book here, but there's a few other books that comes with this where it has the scenarios, where you can play a scenario that might last an hour and a half or 2 hours. You can play a scenario that could go on for 6 or 7 hours. There's some really long scenarios that are embedded here where you could set this up and spend a week playing a little bit here and there, almost like you would sitting down to the computer and popping on a game and playing an hour, hour and a half and stepping away. Yeah, obviously you'd have to have a table that you could set it up on and not have to break it down and set it up multiple times, but it offers that longer, grind to be able to accomplish a specific scenario. And when I say grind, I don't mean like a boring just go kill this many things, go kill that many things, go kill, like, you do feel like you're adventuring and traversing around this world of Euthia and fighting monsters and cleansing towns and meeting new NPCs and gaining new items and buying and figuring out where do I mine for what do I need. And I love the whole gems and the socketing of the gems to upgrade that armor and give you better chances in combat. And really, you feel like you start with this character that's just your standard adventurer, and you build that standard adventurer into a mighty hero over the course of the game. And that's why I really do love this game, and that's why I feel like it is different enough than what some of the other ones out that fall into this larger RPG campaign style game are. Okay? So that's kind of the second piece that you're going to have to either believe me saying, or you're going to have to watch other content and watch the gameplay and observe that for yourself. But that's that second piece that I would be going through before I click that pledge button. And the third thing that really goes through my mind when I kind of make these decisions is, when am I actually going to play this game? Like, it may be something that I really want, and that may be enough. It may be, you know what, this is an experience that I really want, and it doesn't matter if I'm going to play it, when the Kickstarter is delivered or 3 or 4 years later. And I'm not going to worry about everything else that could be coming out between point A and point B. This is an experience that I personally want, and it locks into something that is similar to things that I really like and I really enjoy, so it doesn't really matter what else is going to come out between point A and point B. That's the other thing that I really think about when I go through this as well. If you're a type of person that's like, you know what, I'm not going to play this for because think about it, right? Let's just be realistic with ourselves. We click buy, we buy the game, we think, oh, I can't wait to get it. And then we get it, and it sits in the shrink on the shelf for 3 years before we're like, okay, we finally feel like we have enough time to dive into something like this and play it. One thing that I will say is I didn't feel that the rulebook was overwhelming for this game. This game could have came with a 50, 60, 80 page rulebook easily, and a lot of these bigger campaign type games do. This one's rulebook is 34 pages long. And, you know, it's full with images and text as well, and examples. So it isn't like 34 pages of tiny little text that goes on forever. So I didn't feel like this game's rule set or its rule book was overwhelming in any way. And that may be another thing that is lucrative to you, to say, okay, when I do get it, I'm going to be able to get into this probably and start to play it, and it's not going to be so overwhelming, because the box size may be a little bit overwhelming. I will say that most of these boxes is full with foam and padding. So don't be overwhelmed by these gigantic boxes. You can see what's in, like, this is everything that's in both of these boxes, and I could fit all of this back into one of these boxes if I actually wanted to. So I wouldn't be overwhelmed by that either. And that's really kind of the third piece. So, in short, at the end, this game definitely is something for me. I'm going to enjoy this game thoroughly. I am enjoying this game. I have nowhere near played through everything in this game, and I will be over the course of, I don't know, probably the next year, to be honest. Because I do play a lot of different things, and I'll play probably a few things, then I'll put it away, and I'll pull it back out later, and I'll finish the rest of the campaign. Or you never know, once my wargaming table finally shows up, if it ever does, I might set it up and just play nonstop until I'm completely done with this game, and just love every minute of it. But again, this is the style of game that I really, really like, and it's the type of gaming that I really, really like. So that's what I would say with Euthia. Hopefully, this talk, we'll say, is going to help you make the decision on if this is for you and you want to back this and this is your style of game. And hopefully this type of video gave you the input that you needed, because really at the end of the day, the most important type of input from these videos that I think you can get is, do you really just want to buy the game? You know, it's unless you just want to be entertained by watching people play the game, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to know, is this something you're going to spend a couple $100s on, or whatever this new Kickstarter ends up costing plus shipping, is that going to be really worth it for you in the long run? For me, it would be. Okay, team, if you like this kind of content, would love for you to stick around and hit that like button. If you like the video, if it has given you some form of value, that would be great. If you want to subscribe, that'd be good as well. If you don't want to, that's perfectly fine as well. We cover lots of different types of content, RPG stuff, tabletop wargaming, miniatures, board games. We kind of hit the whole spectrum here on the channel and have a good time with it along the way. So, keep rolling them crits. This has been the McGuire Review. We'll see you next time.